Hello, everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today. You know that feeling when you pause mid-sentence, suddenly second-guessing your own grammar? Well, if that's you, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're demystifying the tricky twins of English grammar. And I promise you, by the end of our time together, those frustrating little word pairs that always seem to trip us up are finally gonna click. Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll introduce the tricky twins. Then we dive into how versus what like, followed by if I do versus if I did. After that, we'll navigate the like and as trap, and finally, we'll pack up your English grammar toolbox. So, let's jump right into part one, the tricky twins of English. Starting off with our first battle in part two, how versus what like. Let's unpick these twins, shall we? Notice the focus here on the word temporary. The word how is all about the fluctuating right now. Just think about things that change constantly. Like, how is the traffic this morning? Well, it changes every single day, right? Or, how is the coffee? It might be burning hot right now, but given an hour and it's going to be freezing cold. Whenever you use how, you are specifically asking about a changeable condition or a temporary, current state. This brilliant little contrast really illustrates the difference when we're talking about people. If I ask, how is Peter? I'm really just asking about his health or his mood today. Is he feeling okay? Is he happy right now? But if I swap just one word and ask, what is Peter like? I'm looking for totally different information. Now I want a description of his permanent personality or physical traits. You know, he's tall, he's super kind. That is what he is like. So whenever you catch yourself hesitating between these two, I want you to literally pause and ask yourself this quick mental checklist question. Am I asking for a feeling or a description? Actually, say it out loud with me right now. Am I asking for a feeling or a description? That right there is your anchor. Let's see this anchor in action. Just imagine we're on the phone and you're at a big event. If I excitedly ask, oh my gosh, how's the party? I am asking for your subjective feeling. Are you having fun? And you'd probably say, it's totally great. But if I drop into a more neutral, curious tone and ask, what's the party like? I want an objective description. You'd tell me, oh, it's really lousy, there's a live DJ, lots of food. It's the exact same event, but totally different questions. Moving right along to part three, if I do versus if I did. This is all about the real versus the completely imaginary. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding reality versus fantasy. Take a look at this. If I find your pen, I'm physically looking around the desk, it's super practical, and there's a very real possibility I will actually find it. But if I found £1 million? Well, now we're just dreaming. We really aren't expecting that to happen, right? It's completely imaginary. Notice how just shifting the verb from find to found completely changes our expectations. To really master these dreams, we have to build what's called the second conditional. And don't worry, it's a super simple two-step visual formula. Step 1, you start your first clause with if plus a verb in the past simple tense. Step 2, in your second clause, you use would followed by a base verb. So, for example, if I won £1 million, I would travel. Let's break it down. If I won, that's your past simple. I would travel, that's would plus your base verb. Just take a second to visually anchor this structure in your mind. Okay, I need you to give me your absolute full attention for this next part. This is the ultimate, non-negotiable golden rule of conditionals. Are you ready? No would in the if clause. Never, ever. They simply do not belong together in the same part of the sentence. Let's look at a pretty serious example to really lock this in. If somebody pointed a gun at me, that's correct. Now listen closely to the incorrect version. If somebody would point a gun at me, I hear this mistake all the time. Please humor me and repeat the correct phrasing out loud right now, just to build up that muscle memory. Ready? If somebody pointed a gun at me. Now, of course, English grammar always loves throwing in an exception. And here is the one highly formal exception to our golden rule. You actually can use would directly after if, but only when you're making an extremely polite, usually very formal request, like this. I would be grateful if you would send me the brochure. It really brightens up the tone, doesn't it? Makes it sound so elegant. But remember, this is strictly for those super polite requests, absolutely not for everyday hypotheticals. All right, on to part 4, the like and as trap. This is where we look at similarity versus actual function. Let's kick this off with like. Like is a preposition that basically means similar to or the same as.
It's used to compare things. And because it's a preposition, it always has to be followed by a noun, a pronoun, or an ing form. So you could look at this gorgeous, massive house and vividly say, wow, it's like a palace. You're directly saying the house is similar to a palace. Now it is absolutely fascinating to see like and as side by side. Look at our first example here. You should have done it like this. Here, like is followed simply by the pronoun this. But check out the second example. You should have done it as I showed you. The word as has a completely different job here. It actually steps in to connect a full clause that contains both the subject, I, and a verb, showed. We use as and never like right before a subject and a verb. But wait, here is where it gets genuinely tricky, because sometimes as acts as a preposition too. When you run into that, I want you to stop and ponder this question. Are we talking about similar things or identical functions? Think about it. Is it just a physical resemblance, or is it an actual literal role? These two sentences brilliantly illustrate that exact contrast. Let's take Brenda first. Brenda makes decisions as the manager. This literally means Brenda has the identity. She is actually in the real role of the manager. But listen to the sentence about Mary. Mary works hard like the manager. Mary is just acting similarly to someone who is in that role. She is not actually the manager. So as gives us the real, literal function, and like just shows us a similarity. All right, let's pull it all together in Part 5, your English Grammar Toolbox. Consider this your ultimate cheat sheet. Let's confidently walk through it together. For how versus what like, just remember those anchors. How's work asks about a temporary state, and what's Peter like asks for a permanent description. For your conditionals, if I find it means the situation is real and possible, but if I found £1,000,000, well, that's just a dream. And finally, like a palace shows similarity, while as the manager shows a true function. Go ahead and take a mental snapshot of this slide right now to lock it all into your memory. Which brings us to our final slide, and I want to leave you with a provocative hypothetical question. What would you do next if you mastered these rules? Did you catch that second conditional in there? You've put in the work today, and you absolutely have the tools now. I am so incredibly excited for you to take this newfound confidence out into the real world. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.